20 years ago, I knew that transgenders was going to be a thing. It wasn't because I was a prophet. It's just I had gotten so much information that I understood that things are secular. So I understood that the earliest I had seen that word transgender was Baphomet, the transgender. And so I knew that in the ritual of Baphomet, the transgender, to show allegiance to him, you had to kiss his ring.
Really?
And it said both of those things. So I knew that both of those things would become popular.
Katt Williams stayed quiet for a long time, just watching everything play out from the sidelines like he already knew how messy it could get. He wasn't rushing to speak, wasn't chasing headlines, just observing and letting things unfold. But lately, with E.J. Johnson constantly trending, making bold appearances, and sparking debates every time he steps out, that silence didn't last.
Thomas is one of the greatest point guards to ever play this game. Not because he's just one of my best friends, but because he is. Makes, hips to do, put it in the hoop, shoot the jumper, play defense. He's my baby. Your turn. I learned it all from him.
Because I might have an opinion. That meant I was homophobic. No. Let me say publicly. Let me say very publicly. If there was a dude and I had to say, that's not because I was homophobic.
The noise got too loud. The conversations got too heated. And Katt finally stepped in with comments that shook people up instantly. Now folks are looking at Magic Johnson from a whole different angle, questioning things they never questioned before. And just when it seemed like things couldn't get more intense, those old rumors about Magic's close bond with Isaiah Thomas started making rounds again. That history didn't stay buried at all. It came right back up and added even more weight to everything Katt was hinting at. Now people are side-eyeing everything, replaying old clips, revisiting old interviews, and trying to connect dots that may or may not even be there. It's getting loud, messy, and hard to ignore.
Yeah, Thomas, my baby. Your turn.
Gay in our family, just like my son EJ came out. You know, it was important that Cookie and I support our son. We love our son. We're gonna support.
Now rewind all the way back to November 1991, a moment that completely shook the sports world to its core. Magic Johnson was at the peak of his career, dominating the NBA, loved by fans everywhere, and then out of nowhere, he dropped news that nobody saw coming.
Ritual is wearing a dress. Then we should be able to look through entertainment and see all of these people being made to wear a dress. That's what a ritual is. You know what I mean? Like, whether they're white or black, that doesn't matter. There's not other jobs where this is a requirement. Why is this? Why is this so necessary?
He announced he was HIV positive and stepping away from basketball immediately. That moment didn't just make headlines. It sent shockwaves through the entire culture. People couldn't believe it. Fans were stunned, and the media went into overdrive, trying to make sense of it all. Magic openly said his past relationships with women were the reason, trying to clear things up right away.
I don't attract gay men, and I'm not attracted to gay men. Who you are? But to be honest, it's like that's why I don't go to gay clubs. I don't go to gay things, because it's like the men that I attract are not there. I do that when I go to the straight rooms.
So. So, has it always been that way for you in terms of when it comes to men? Has it always been what some people consider the straight guy always being the one that would approach you?
Or somebody who, has been intimate and dating, women for most of their life, or like up until then, for sure. Absolutely, it has always been that way, but now it's like even more so now that I definitely present in more of a feminine way, because also like it's like my energy. They're like, well, you can't wear skirts, and I was like, well, why not? You know, it's like my inner being was like, there's nothing wrong with this, especially if I look cuter than any girl does. Like, what's the problem? Like, what's the issue? And that's exactly how I apply it to myself to these days in the way that I present, like in my, you know, in my feminine regalia. You know, I've always been a feminine being, and like that's just like how I, you know, I best express myself. But I'm like, listen, I'm out all the time, you know, and like I'm killing a dress and no one else is. Like the girls in the room are not doing it. Like they don't look cute. They're not dressed to any nines. So,
But even with that explanation, a lot of people still weren't convinced at all. Back in the early 90s, there were so many misconceptions floating around about HIV, and some really believed it could only come from certain lifestyles. Because of that, the rumors spread fast, faster than anyone could control. Some fans were confused, some were in complete denial, and others started questioning everything they thought they knew about him. It turned into a situation where facts, opinions, and assumptions all got mixed together, and once that happens, it's almost impossible to separate truth from speculation. The pressure got so intense that Magic Johnson had no choice but to face those rumors head-on and speak directly to the public. This wasn't just casual gossip anymore. It was everywhere, on TV, in newspapers, in conversations across the country. So Magic stepped up and made himself very clear, saying he was not involved with men and never had been. He didn't leave room for confusion, he said it straight. But even with him putting it out there like that, the whispers didn't stop. People kept talking, kept questioning, and kept pushing their own narratives like they weren't ready to let it go. It shows how once a story takes off, it's almost impossible to fully shut it down, no matter how direct you are. And while all of this noise was happening, Magic was also dealing with something way more serious behind the scenes. He opened up about his fear of passing the virus to his wife, Cookie Johnson, who was pregnant with their son at the time. That part hit different. This wasn't just about headlines anymore. This was about real life, real fear, and protecting his family during one of the most stressful moments imaginable. Imagine carrying that kind of weight, knowing the whole world is watching, judging and talking, while you're trying to stay strong for your wife and unborn child. That adds a whole new layer to everything he was going through. And just when you think it couldn't get more overwhelming, here comes another detail that makes it even heavier. The diagnosis came only 2 months after Magic and Cookie had just gotten married. 2 months. That was supposed to be the beginning of a joyful chapter, a fresh start filled with happiness and plans for the future. Instead, it flipped into a situation filled with uncertainty, fear, and non-stop public attention almost overnight. 1 minute it's wedding celebrations, the next it's national headlines and intense scrutiny. That kind of emotional shift is not easy for anyone to handle. Magic even went as far as addressing the rumors directly in his own words, saying, "By now, I'm sure that most of America has heard rumors that I am gay. Well, you can forget that. I have never had a gay encounter. Never. First of all, if I were bi or gay, I would come out, but that's just not me." He said it clearly, firmly, and without hesitation. But even with that statement out there, loud and direct, the speculation didn't fade away. People kept debating, kept analyzing his words, and kept questioning his story. It just shows how powerful public perception can be once people make up their minds or latch onto a narrative. It's incredibly hard to change it, no matter how many times the truth is repeated. People out here play with me. They play against me. They all know that because we all ran together. We all hung out together. So no way that Magic Johnson can be bi or gay, and not everybody knows it. There's just no way. No shade to Magic. But that's exactly what every DL man said at some point. But go on. That statement right there didn't just land. It shook the room. The delivery was bold, almost too confident, and that's exactly why it had people pausing and looking at it sideways. Because when someone speaks that firmly, like there's no room for debate, it doesn't always shut things down. Sometimes, it does the opposite. It makes people lean in closer, replay the words, and start analyzing every little detail. Folks began asking themselves, why so strong with it? And what's really behind that statement? It turned into one of those moments where instead of clearing the air, it added more layers to the conversation. And you already know how the public moves. Once something like that is out there, people start connecting dots whether they belong together or not. Social media, interviews, old clips, everything starts getting pulled back up. Suddenly, every past moment gets re-examined with a new lens, and the conversation gets louder instead of quieter. It's like people weren't just listening anymore. They were investigating, trying to read between lines that may not even exist. That's how fast things can spiral when the tone hits a certain way. Now on his side, Magic stayed consistent and didn't switch up his explanation at all. He stood on what he said and made it clear, saying, "I am certain that I was infected by having unprotected action with a woman. The problem is that I can't pinpoint the time, the place, or the woman." That right there opened up another wave of reactions. Because while he sounded sure about how it happened, not being able to identify when or with who left people with more questions than answers, and when the public feels like there are gaps, they fill them in themselves, whether it's accurate or not. Magic also didn't shy away from talking about his past lifestyle either. He admitted that before settling down, he was living fast, moving from city to city with the NBA, surrounded by attention everywhere he went. The spotlight, the fame, the access, it all came with a certain kind of lifestyle, and he made it clear he was part of that world. He even compared himself lightly to Wilt Chamberlain, making it known he wasn't on that level, but he wasn't exactly keeping things quiet either. That honesty painted a vivid picture of how things were back then. But for some people, it still didn't close the case. Instead, it made them question even more, because when details feel incomplete, curiosity only grows louder. And here's where things started getting even more intense. The public wasn't just focused on the diagnosis anymore. They were already side-eyeing his personal life before all this even came out. A big reason? His extremely close bond with Isaiah Thomas. These two weren't just teammates. They were tight in a way that had people talking behind the scenes for years. Their friendship started back in 1979 on the U.S. Pan American Games team, and it carried strong all through the 80s. Magic even went as far as naming a guest room in his mansion the Isaiah Room. That's not something people ignore. That kind of detail sticks. But what really pushed the rumors into overdrive were the moments people saw with their own eyes. Reports started spreading that Magic and Isaiah were showing affection publicly, hugging a little longer than usual, even greeting each other with kisses on the court. Now some saw it as brotherhood, pure friendship, nothing more. But others, they took those same moments and flipped them into something else entirely. At first, people brushed it off like it was just playful energy between two close friends. It even turned into a little inside joke, something the NBA crowd would laugh about and keep moving. But then, everything shifted real quick. What started as whispers turned into a full-blown conversation when a clip went viral showing Magic Johnson giving Isaiah Thomas a soft kiss on the cheek. And not just that, Magic was heard calling Isaiah "my baby" in a way that had people pausing the video, replaying it, and asking questions. That moment hit different, and suddenly the jokes didn't feel like just jokes anymore. From there, every move Magic made started getting analyzed under a microscope. It almost felt like whenever he tried to shut down certain rumors, it had the opposite effect and made people talk even more. Remember that interview where he clearly said he wasn't gay? Well, in that same conversation, he opened up about how Isaiah reacted to his diagnosis, saying it hit him especially hard. And that right there sparked another wave of speculation. Some people started connecting dots that may or may not even be there, claiming Isaiah's reaction meant something deeper. Whether true or not, once that narrative started spreading, it stuck around. Fast forward a few years, and now the spotlight shifts to E.J. Johnson. As E.J. grew older and openly stepped into his identity, the public conversation picked right back up again. Instead of things calming down, it added another layer to everything Magic had already been dealing with. Some voices online even started saying Magic might be more accepting because he couldn't fully express himself back in the day, and now he's supporting EJ in a way people didn't expect. That idea spread fast, even without solid proof, because people love a storyline that feels bigger than what's being shown. And EJ, he hasn't exactly been quiet either. He sat down in interviews and spoke with full confidence about how he moves and who he attracts, saying things that had people doing double takes. He said, "I don't attract gay men, and I'm not attracted to gay men. To be honest, that's why I don't really go to gay clubs." Statements like that added even more confusion to the mix. People didn't know whether to take it as bold honesty or something else entirely. And just when people thought things couldn't get any louder, E.J. Johnson came through with statements that had everybody talking again. He didn't hold back at all. E.J. straight up said that no matter what room he walks into, he feels like he looks better than any woman there. That confidence? It shocked some people and impressed others, but either way, it had folks reacting. He even spoke about pushing past expectations, saying, "Kid," and like they were like, "Well, you can't wear skirts." And I was like, "Well, why not?" You know, it's like my inner being was like, "There's nothing wrong with this, especially if I look cuter than any girl does." That kind of energy turned heads fast, and people couldn't stop replaying it. But even with EJ owning who he is, the outside noise hasn't slowed down at all. There are still people out here questioning Magic Johnson and his support, throwing out theories that he's backing EJ so strongly because EJ is living a version of life that Magic never got to explore himself. Now, there's no solid proof behind that claim, but that hasn't stopped it from spreading. The internet loves a narrative, and once something like that starts circulating, it takes on a life of its own. Some even point to other situations in entertainment where parents are accused of living through their kids, adding more fuel to the speculation. And this is where Katt Williams comes right back into the picture, because he's been speaking on topics like this for years, way before this current wave of conversations. If you remember, Katt once went all in on Kevin Hart, making claims that stirred up a whole storm. He accused Kevin of changing himself to fit industry expectations, and that did not go over well at all. That moment turned into a full-blown feud, with both sides throwing shots and fans picking sides. It got messy, loud, and impossible to ignore. Katt even made a statement that stuck with a lot of people, saying, "Part of the ritual is wearing a dress. Then we should be able to look through entertainment and see all of these people being made to wear a dress." That line alone sparked endless debates. Some people dismissed it completely, while others started connecting dots and looking at old clips differently. And now, with EJ confidently expressing himself and Magic standing by him, those old comments are being pulled back up and re-examined all over again. And then someone else jumped into the conversation saying, "No offense to Magic Johnson, but I always thought he was gay when he used to kiss Isaiah Thomas before a game." That comment alone had people going back, re-watching old clips and forming their own opinions all over again. It's wild how moments that seemed normal back then are now being picked apart from every angle. And with Katt Williams speaking up and adding his perspective into the mix, it's only making the whole situation feel even more intense and layered. Now everything is being questioned again. People are debating whether Katt is exposing something real or just stirring the pot like he always does. Others are looking at E.J. Johnson and wondering if his lifestyle is simply his truth or if there's more behind the scenes that the public doesn't fully understand. And then comes the big question that keeps popping up everywhere. Do you really think Magic is just being supportive as a father? Or are people reaching with these theories about him living through E.J.? That's where opinions start to split hard, and nobody seems to fully agree. So now I'm throwing it to you. What's your take on all this drama? Do you think Katt Williams is exposing something serious? Or is this just another situation getting blown way out of proportion? And how do you feel about Magic and EJ's dynamic overall? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this conversation is far from over. If you're into content like this, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and don't miss out on what's coming next. Go ahead and check out the next messy video, and I'll catch you in the next one.